the early 19th century, the best oil to put in your lamp to light the darkness was whale oil. Whaling was a young man's business. It was physically demanding, and so generally speaking, the fellows who went whaling were 19, 20, 21, 22 years old.
Whales all over the world have been hunted by man for centuries. Year after year, whales were caught with greater and greater success as the hunting equipment became more refined and lethal. The first evidence of the human impact on some whale populations takes us back hundreds of years.
We know that by the 1600s, British and Dutch and German whalers were active in the Arctic around Greenland and around northern Norway, and the whaling started to have an impact then by reducing right whales and then reducing bowhead whales. And the reductions, we think, were quite substantial.
The History of Marine Animal Population, World Whaling Project, gathers in New Bedford. It was the American whaling capital in the 19th century. The older parts of the city were built with profits from whaling. Even Captain Haskell's house, dating from 1848, where the team now meets.
So he has more than 500 all told, so that gets the end consulted, or in part 5, and that's it.
That's it.
The World Whaling History team is composed of an anthropologist, a biologist, a geographer, a historian, all focusing on areas of their interest, and my job has been trying to keep their interests focused towards the whole project.
Elizabeth Josephson's main interest is studying the logbooks. She has been in charge of the data collection for the American Offshore Whaling Voyages database.
We have over 17,000 different voyages now from American ports.
The database is based on logbooks from the voyages that took place in the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries. Through the database, the actual exploitation of the whales is depicted in a larger frame.
Sometimes you'd see one ship going to a certain area, and then suddenly the next season there are 5 ships going there, and they've come back, and the word is starting to spread the next year. You see a lot of whaling vessels in that area, so you can actually really see the exploitation of the resource, because once a rich whaling ground is discovered, suddenly all the whalers are there, and then you can actually see them leave again after they have wiped out the whales on that whaling ground.
The American whalers traveled far, and they harvested whales from all over the world. In 1857, the whaling industry peaked, and half of the whaling worldwide was conducted from the New Bedford Customs District.
The vessel that left New Bedford was a large vessel. They had a large crew of men, and they carried whale boats, which are 30 feet more or less. And when they got out where there might be whales, they lowered the whale boats with 6 men in them, and they went in those small boats, smaller than the whales themselves, to pursue those whales. They got close enough so they could put a harpoon into the side of the whale, and the harpoon did not kill. The harpoon was essentially the fish hook. It connected the boat to the whale. It was terribly dangerous. Here you have this now angry animal with a harpoon in it, hurting, thrashing his tail.
History is full of fisheries that continue to grow and expand ever widening grounds because they deplete what's in front of them, and they deplete what's in the next layer, and they then move their trawl fishing to Iceland and they deplete what's there. That history of fishing everywhere, well, almost everywhere, has been of interest to me and kind of a pathology. It's like there doesn't seem to be effective methods to regulate whaling that you can really confidently say this fishery would be safe.
Today, whales face problems other than whale hunting. We meet Randall Reeves in Geneva, where he serves as chairman for the Western Great Whale Advisory Panel.
I hope you're all following me now on the agenda.
The panel advises a Russian oil company that operates right next to the only known feeding ground for the western gray whale population.
This company's operation brings with it threats of collisions with vessels, oil spills obviously, and the loud noise of construction of drilling platforms.
The western gray whale population was actually considered extinct in the early 1970s. Later, it was discovered that they still existed in the Sea of Okhotsk in Russia. Historical research helped define their current distribution.
In our research on American whaling activities in the Okhotsk Sea, we learned that there were areas of the northern Sea of Okhotsk where the American whalers went to find gray whales. This is one of the real values of historical whaling research, I think, is to establish where things used to be so that we can target research at times and places where whales should be.
Today, the western gray whale population is estimated at about 150 whales.
In the 19th century, a whaling ship could bring back 3,000 barrels of whale oil. For each whale killed, they produced about 25 barrels of oil.
They took the blubber, put it on board in try-works, big pots, where they boiled down the blubber, and it's like making bacon, only you throw away the bacon and you save the oil.
Besides from lamp oil, the whales were used for many different kinds of products, and the extent of whaling has made it difficult for the whales to recover. As the temperature is globally rising, the next generation of whales has yet another challenge to overcome.
Ecosystems are never stable, and whales have faced climate change before, and the thing that they've been unable to overcome has been human hunting. So if we can keep that under control, then the future for the whales looks reasonable.